Shavua Tov, Gute Woche. I'm Rafael Rabinovich, and Bezrat Hashem, I'm going to tell story number 201 of the Shivchei Baal Shem Tov, the oldest source of Baal Shem Tov stories ever published. The title of the story is Mezhybuzh Ashir Samoch LeMezhybuzh, the story of a wealthy, a rich merchant who was near Mezhybuzh, who lived near Mezhybuzh. It's one of the longest stories in the book, so please bear with me and pay attention to the details. By the way, you can set in your settings the story I'm telling in US English, just so you can, if you hear my voice in a different language, set it to the original language, US English. Says the author of the Shivchei Baal Shem Tov, I heard in the name of the Rav Kadosh Menachem Nachum of Chernobyl. So the source of the story is Rav Menachem Nachum of Chernobyl, but it was not heard directly, but someone else in his name. That the story goes that in a community nearby the Kehillah of Mezhybuzh, in a town nearby Mezhybuzh, there was a very distinguished and wealthy merchant who used to travel to the city of Leipzig, 700 miles away in Germany, to do business, to buy merchandise and come back with merchandise. This man had been married for many years and did not have children, but he did not want to go to the Baal Shem Tov under any circumstance. He did not want to go. On a certain occasion, he traveled for a certain matter to Mezhybuzh, and he lodged at the house of a dear friend of his, and they greeted each other, and the merchant shared his situation and his pain for not having children, and the friend told him, the whole world goes to the Baal Shem Tov, why do you refuse to go? And he insisted so much that, well, the friend kept saying, maybe it's an eis ratzon, maybe there will be a moment of divine will that you will receive a special blessing from the Baal Shem Tov, a bracha, and we'll open it up, you will have children. Until the man was no longer able to refuse, and they went together to see the Baal Shem Tov. Sometimes insisting pays off. The Baal Shem Tov said to him, my advice is that you abandon or you leave your business in Leipzig, sell all your merchandise, sell your brikas, your merchant carriages, wagons, whatever, and take the arrende, take the agricultural property from the local poritz, to be the admin of the property, and within a year's time, your wife will give birth to a child, and when this happens, let me know. The merchant was astonished. He did not believe the Baal Shem Tov. He knew that the local poritz, the local Polish landowner, was a Sonei Yisrael. He hated Jews, and in 15 years he didn't allow any Jew in his properties. So he thought the words of the Baal Shem Tov must be empty. Didn't want to come to the Baal Shem Tov, didn't want to believe the Baal Shem Tov's words. 2 days later, the poritz himself called for him to come, the merchant, to come to the poritz, and indeed gave him the administration of the local property, just like the Baal Shem Tov has said. And he thought, must be that the poritz needs the money, so he had no choice but having to stop doing business in Leipzig and take the arrende, take the agricultural property administration from the poritz. So what the Baal Shem Tov told him ended up happening, and he had to do it anyway. And indeed, within a year, his wife gave birth to a male child. But he did not go tell the Baal Shem Tov. He thought, it's just a coincidence, and he would not connect the Baal Shem Tov Eitzah, the Baal Shem Tov advice, with what had happened. So the child grew up and became a Pere Adam. He became wild, really difficult to control. It even brings an expression here from Bereshis, Yado Bechol Yad Kol Boy, that his hand was up against everyone and everyone's hand was on him to stop him, meaning he constantly got into trouble, into fights. They couldn't even take him to school. He was that wild, out of control child. And the man, his life became really difficult. He regretted having wanted to have a child. He thought it would have been better for him not to have a child at all, and really his life would have been better off. Not a good attitude to have, but the man didn't see this as a blessing after all the difficulties, and that's what he said. Well, as time went by, and on another occasion, he went to Mezhybuzh again hosted by the same friend in his house, and he told him what happened, and the friend said, it was not wise of you to not go tell the Baal Shem Tov immediately when your wife gave birth, the way he told you, from his own holy mouth. Anyway, let's go see him now, and let's ask him for advice. So they went to the Baal Shem Tov, and when they were in front of him, the man wanted to apologize to the Baal Shem Tov for not having told him. The Baal Shem Tov said, my eitzah, my advice, is that now you abandon the arrende, sell all the produce, everything that you have made there, take money in cash, and go back to Leipzig and become a soicher, become a merchant again, and stay there for about a year. When you come back home, says the Baal Shem Tov, you will find that your son has become a different person, and he will be a outstanding student of Torah. This time the man did as the Baal Shem Tov said. He sold everything he had in the arrende, in the agricultural rental property, and he went to Leipzig, and he started slowly but surely buying merchandise, little by little, buying until he got all the merchandise that he needed in the best terms. Obviously, a businessman knows how to wait, when to get, what quality to get, how to get the right price, right? Slowly until he gets everything. And then there are times in the year where the market closes and the merchants go back home. So he was left alone. And he thought to himself, what do I do now, alone and without money? He already bought all the merchandise. There had been only 4 months since he arrived. So he put all the merchandise into a big brick, into the big commercial wagon, and began his way back home. Only 4 months, not a year like the Baal Shem Tov said. It was just him and the balagala, the driver. As they were traveling, it comes a Friday. I mentioned there are 700 miles from Leipzig to Mezhybuzh, so they were a good couple of weeks on the road. So it comes a Friday afternoon, and they got off the main road and began looking for a place where to lodge. And as the sun is beginning to set on the horizon, the man stops the wagon, and tells the balagala, you go to this way, I go this way, let's look for a place to lodge. The man walked about 30 amos, 100 amos, I'm sorry, 30 yards, okay? And he finds that there is a cottage in the forest. And he sees that the candles are already lit. He sees through the window the candles are lit. So he took courage and just went to the house. He comes in and sees that there is a Jewish man praying, and there is another one setting the table. He didn't take anything with him from the cart. He thought, I'm probably going to be caught by Shabbos. Didn't want to carry anything. So he comes into the house. So the man who's setting the table, the servant, brings him a white shirt and Shabbos clothing. And he began praying along with the man who's already praying. So they do Kabbalah Shabbos and Ma'ariv, the prayers of Friday evening. And the owner of the house greets him, and it says in here literally Shabbat Tava, which in Talmudic Aramaic is Shabbat Shalom, or a good Shabbat. He probably said in Yiddish, good Shabbos. He welcomed him happily and brought him wine to make Kiddush, and there was a table beautifully set with wonderful food, like something you see in the table of a king. Nothing was missing. After the meal, they presented him with a comfortable, nice bed, and the man was hesitant to go sleep in it, so the owner of the house told him, don't worry, no women come here. Probably he was worried, Yichud, I don't know, there is a wife, there is something. No. Indeed, there was only the host and his male servant, no one else. They got up in the morning early, and they daven, they pray, Shachris, the morning prayer, Musaf, as is done in Jewish faith, right? And then they made Kiddush again, and they ate, and they drank, and they were happy, and the man was tired. He had drank so much wine. He lay down to take a nap, and he woke up just by the time of Mincha, the afternoon prayer. So he did the afternoon prayer, and then again sat down for the third meal of Shabbos Shalishidis, Seudah Shalishit. And now they ate until nightfall, and then they davened, they prayed Ma'ariv, the evening prayer. And the owner of the house, the Balabos, the host, made haBaal. And after haBaal, greeted him and asked him how he's doing. Since in Shabbos we don't talk about mundane things. Even the greetings that will lead to mundane things, try to avoid. They were very religious Jews, obviously, in that house. So after haBaal, ask, what are you doing? How are you? What do you do? And the host, the merchant, was very worried because he knew nothing about the balagala, the driver of the carriage, and all the merchandise. So the owner of the house told him, if you want, you can sell me your merchandise, and we'll make an arrangement like this. I'll buy half now in cash, and the other half you give me in credit. And I'll give it to you after the market season in Leipzig. It was difficult for this man to trust, to give credit to someone he doesn't know. He only met the man here in the forest, his little cottage, but he was afraid probably that his merchandise is lost. He doesn't know where the driver is. He's in the middle of nowhere. So they negotiated the price and he accepted. Then he looks out the window and he sees the carriage there, and the balagala, the driver, and all the merchandise in it. So he came out very upset, but could not change what he had already agreed. So he was thinking, where am I going to put all this merchandise? There is no storage building nearby. So the Balabos, the owner of the house, says, "Give me the merchandise." They start taking it down, and he opens a down door that opens out to a basement under the house, right? Under the cottage. And they put all the merchandise there. And then they calculate between them how much there is and what's the value of the merchandise. And it was a lot of money. It was worth a lot. So the man said, as they had agreed, the owner of the house gives him half in cash. 8,000 red coins. 8,000, or I'm sorry, 80,000. 80,000, I guess is the Polish zlotys, right? So 80,000 gold coins. And the other half, obviously the merchandise was worth 160,000 coins. He makes a IOU document and gives him the signed document that he owes him the other half of the merchandise. As they were on the way back to Leipzig, the merchant starts thinking to himself, the Baal Shem Tov told me to take a year away in Leipzig. And I was thinking of returning to the house early because I had, but now I sold all the merchandise. What am I going to do at home? So better I go back to Leipzig and begin, slowly but surely, buying merchandise again as I need. As they are traveling, he looks at the document and he sees that it's signed Naum Yonah. Naum, as we do in Hebrew letters and documents, giving faith, and the signature Yonah. In English, the name will be Jonah. So, Naum Yonah. That's the signature in the document. So, upon arrival in Leipzig, the man began to ask, who knows this Yonah? Naum Yonah. Who is this man who signed the document? And after he buys the merchandise and the season of the market season is complete, he keeps asking to see who knows this Yonah. Not only people don't know this Yonah, but they start laughing at him. What's the story? You trusted some man who you met in a cottage in the forest, and you give him all your merchandise and you give him credit? People were laughing. What is this? Obviously, we only give credit when we have faith. Somebody who don't know in the middle of the forest, you're going to give him half of all your merchandise, or the value of half of all your merchandise in credit? So when the merchants were going back home, he put all the merchandise in his carriages, in his briques. So by then he has already multiple carriages, and began his way back, and calculates it has been a year since he arrived in Leipzig. So now the time the Baal Shem Tov told him has passed. As he is passing through the gates of the city of Leipzig, he sees the man he recognizes, the man who hosted him for Shabbos in the forest. But the man does not recognize him, so he gets off the carriage and says to him, I have a document signed by you for the amount of 80,000 adumim, 80,000 golden zlotys. So the man says, give me the document and I will pay you in cash. So the merchant asked, who are you? And the man said, what do you care who I am? I'm going to pay you in cash. So the merchant really wanted to know the truth. What's the identity of this man who hosted him in the cottage in the forest, and he's buying all his merchandise. But the man said, look, you give me the document and I pay you. Otherwise, I don't. Up to you. So the man gives him the document. The Jewish merchant gave him the document, and the man paid him up to the last coin. Everything here. Another 80,000 golden coins. After this, he says, give my regards to the Baal Shem Tov. Tell him that Yonah gives him his shalom, his peace. So the man traveled home happy, in good spirits, and he found that his son had completely transformed into a different person. He was dedicated to his studies, he was a calm man, everything changed. Immediately, he went to the Baal Shem Tov now and told him everything that happened. And the Baal Shem Tov asked him about Yonah. How is Yonah? The man said, well, he asked me to tell you that he sends his regards, his shalom, his regards. The Baal Shem Tov tells him, you should know that that man was Yonah Hanavi. It was the prophet Jonah from Tanakh, from the Bible, Yonah ben Amittai. And up to here is the story as that was heard. The merit of the stories of the Baal Shem Tov, of this story. Ve'ashiv levavos el banim, may those lost relationships be recovered. May Hashem bless us with everything good and positive. I am telling all the Baal Shem Tov stories here in the channel, in YouTube, once in English, once in Spanish. This is, you can adjust your settings in American English. And I am working on the translation of I have worked on the translation, I am editing the translation of the entire book of the Shivchei Baal Shem Tov from Hebrew to Spanish, aiming to have it published soon. I appreciate all contributions for this end. You can contact me directly, or I appreciate if you can give a donation, either by pressing on the thanks button or see the links below. Please subscribe, give me a like, come back every Motzei Shabbos, tell Baal Shem Tov stories. Blessings to everyone. Shavua Tov, a gute Woche.